Hello and welcome to the Watering Hole. Thanks for checking out this clip. Don't forget to like and subscribe because that'll make the baby Jesus cry, and I know how much you guys love making the baby Jesus cry. Next up, the Canberra Baptist Church was expelled from association over same-sex marriage support. So this was sent to me by Josie.
Good gets you punished. Yay.
Yeah. So the Canberra Baptist Church, this is in Australia, I think, in New South Wales. Canberra Baptist Church has been expelled from its denominational association after almost 100 years for refusing to support a conservative stance on same-sex marriage. So, it's one of those, like, they try to do a good thing and they're punished for it by their denomination, so... What is going on with your avatar? What are you doing, Cirrus?
So, because I'm not in the actual area that I wanted to sit at, I'm having to piecemeal grab things like my drink from the places that they were.
Oh, does it get small when you walk away from the computer?
Profanity. What?
Does it get small when you walk away from the computer?
Well, yeah, because it's a perspective thing. It's to make it look like you're leaning back versus pushing forward.
Okay. Yeah. So, New South Wales and ACT Baptist Association, which is governed by member churches, voted to disaffiliate the Canberra Baptist Church during its annual assembly in Sydney on Saturday night, with 65% of the delegates supporting the move. Yeah, so this is, again, like, we're witnessing denominational splits over some people being like, hey, maybe we should just love everybody, like Jesus said, and other people being like, no, we need to hate the gays.
Because remember, in their perspective, and I'm obviously not trying to defend them. This would be a stupid thing to try to defend. But from the perspective of the Christian right, the loving thing to do is to hate the gays, because by hating the gays, you make it more likely that they'll get into heaven. Like, that's the logic.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
If you shame people for not being part of the church, if you shame people for not honoring God correctly, they'll have a higher chance of coming around to the right side. It doesn't make any sense when you look at it as a sane individual, but when you look at it from the lens of that cult...
Yeah, even when I was an anti-gay Christian, it was still a matter of, like, it's not my job to judge. Judge not, lest ye be judged. It's my place just to be a loving person, and then God does the judging later.
Yeah, unfortunately, for people who are in that denomination, not just that denomination, but many denominations, their perspective is going to be, yeah, it's God's place to judge, but that doesn't mean I'm not allowed to do it. Like, they put a delineation between judgment human to human and judgment from God, which is considered a final judgment. There's a tier system to it, basically. Or they'll just say that you're taking the Bible out of context and therefore they can judge anyway. Like, those are the two schools of thought that I can think of on that.
So maybe this is where my literal brain kind of helped me out with this, because I always saw it as like all sins are supposed to be relatively equal.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't harp on about people who have sex before marriage or get divorced or any of the other stuff. Like, literally says in the Bible that if a woman divorces for a reason other than adultery and then remarries, she is now guilty of adultery. And yet we didn't harp on about people that had divorced and remarried for reasons like we just weren't compatible. So I didn't understand why, like, okay, why are we harping on this one but not the other one when they're supposed to be the same?
So think of it from the perspective of somebody in the NIFB. They will harp on somebody for that. They view that as a failure in the eyes of God. So, like,
yeah,
you had a more sane
so even if they might do that on a one-on-one basis, they don't preach sermons about it.
Yeah, they do.
Not as often as they preach the anti-gay ones.
Correct. Stephen Anderson and them do that more often, but, like, I've covered a lot of sermons from the NIFB, and they've definitely tackled their warped ideas of adultery.
What about Kent Hovind? Isn't he NIFB?
So
is he still out of prison?
He's still out of prison. You want to know something really funny? I have only ever covered Kent Hovind once.
Really?
And it wasn't in response to Kent Hovind. It was in response to
Thank you,
his
Artemis.
Weasley little sycophant, who I did a whole video series on called Discount Hovind.
Matt Powell?
No, no,
There's a new
there's a
one?
Christian YouTuber that goes by the name of like I2I, and all he does is quote Matt Powell, not Matt Powell, Kent Hovind directly. And the one time that I covered Kent Hovind was when he went to the Dinosaur Adventureland and did a collaboration with Kent Hovind. So I was like, sweet, two for the price of one. And that's the only video I can think of where I've actually covered Kent Hovind. I don't know why I've avoided covering him specifically for years. It just never happens because there's always other people.
It's still wild to me to think back to my days as a creationist, where actually like I respected Kent Hovind and listened to his sermons and whatnot. Um, and then like if present me could go back in time and tell past me like, hey, one day you're going to be an atheist and Kent Hovind is going to target you for his Wednesday whacking thing.
He's going to whack you off.
He whacked me off. Yeah. He spent an entire like hour and a half just talking about me and how much he hated me or like how much he didn't respect me or whatever. And I'm just like, wow. It's so weird to think of that.
Yeah.
Apparently Kent just did a video whacking Sir Six audience. Where is Kent doing videos nowadays? Is he back on YouTube?
Yeah, he's been on YouTube as far as I know.
Oh, he got kicked off of YouTube for a while.
Was that back when Susan was in charge of YouTube? Because there's been different management for the past 3 years.
Might have been. I don't know. But yeah, he is super petty. He is super petty. He also commented on one of my videos. He was like, "Your sources are 145 years out of date." Like, oldest source I used was 20 years old. But that was fun. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically it for this church. But